Okay, boys and girls, I am going to show you how to create this adorable little tiger out of our painted paper and a couple other colors of paper. And we're gonna be using some really simple shapes and something called symmetry. To get started, we are going to take our beautiful painted paper and you are going to fold it in half. After you fold it in half, you will see this line down the middle. And I want for you to take your scissors and I want you to cut that paper on that line, which will give us 2 equal parts. Okay, one of these papers is going to be used for our tiger's body. You can see that it is kind of like a long oval shape. And then the other paper we'll use for the tail and the ears and his paws. So, I'm gonna move that one out of the way. We are gonna make this oval shape on the back of our painted paper. That's just because it's a little bit easier to draw on the white side that does not have any paint showing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw this oval, but I'm gonna tell you an easy way to do it. With our paper turned vertical, up and down, with the long sides pointing up and down like this, we're actually gonna leave these sides straight, and all we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off the corners at the top and the corners at the bottom. So with your pencil, I would like for you to draw a curved line from the side over here to the top. And then I want you to do the same thing on this side. So we're drawing a curved line that starts kind of up here and comes down to the side. It's gonna be the top of his head. Now let's turn our paper over just so it's a little bit easier and do the same thing. A curved line here and a curved line here. So your paper should look like this after you draw those 4 curved lines. Next, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and cut off those little corners. So with your scissors, very carefully, cut along each one of those 4 curved lines. Okay. You'll end up with 4 little triangles and our tiger's body. So you can kind of see that it's that long, stretched out oval shape. So you can move that to the side. And next we're gonna work on our tiger's tail, ears, and paws. For the tail, I want you to find another long side of your painted paper. And again, we're gonna be doing this on the back of our painted paper. That way it's easy to draw on the white side. And along one of the longer sides, so do you see how this side is much longer than this one? We are going to draw a wavy kind of curvy line for the side of his tail. Now you wanna do this line really close to the edge, so watch me. I'm gonna draw this really close to the edge of my paper. Okay, so it's almost touching my paper, the edge of my paper in some spots. Now at the top, I want you to draw a curved line that kind of looks like a rainbow shape right here. So I'm drawing that line right there. And then we're gonna follow that curved line back to the bottom. Now, take a look at how thick my tiger's tail is. It's not skinny like our pencil. It's a little bit wider than our pencil, but it's also not way big and fat, okay? So just make sure that your tail is about the same size, okay? After you draw your tail, we are going to cut that out, but we wanna make sure we don't mess up any of our white spots over here, so watch what I'm gonna do. I am going to cut along this side first. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of cut it just like I did at the top, just kind of cut it off a little bit. That way I can use this beautiful piece for the next step. I'm gonna continue cutting this out just by following my pencil line. Okay, and then after you are done cutting, you'll have a little skinny scrap of paper from the other side, so that can go with your little triangles. So now I have my tiger's body and tail. Okay, Now let's go ahead and work on his ears and paws. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this paper in half, just like this. So make sure you line up your corners and then squash it down in the middle. And then when you open it back up, you will see that line where it was folded, and I want you to cut that one, just like we did on the very first step for his body. And now I have two pieces. One piece we're gonna use for ears and one piece for the paws. Let's do the ears first. So I'm gonna move this guy out of the way. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned a word called symmetry. Symmetry is when two things look the same on both sides. So if we drew a straight line down our tiger, the ears look the same, the eyes look the same, the paws look the same. We want our ears to be symmetrical. So we want them to look the same and be in the same place on the top of his head. So the easiest way to do this is we're gonna actually fold this paper in half again. I know, kind of crazy. So I want you to take your painted paper and fold it in half one more time. Now, we're still gonna be drawing on the white side, so all of your beautiful paint should be on the inside, and then the white should be on the outside. Now we're gonna draw just one ear. And because our paper is folded in half, when we go to cut it out, we will cut out two shapes at the same time. Makes it pretty easy. So what we're gonna do is in the middle of your painted paper, we're going to draw a rainbow shape, kind of like this. And then we'll draw the bottom part, which will just be flat. So these are gonna be our tiger's ears. Now notice how big my ears are. We don't want teeny tiny little tiger ears. We want them to be pretty big. That way he can hear all of the things in the jungle. Now after you draw your one big ear, remember our paper is folded in half. So when we cut this paper out, we're gonna leave it folded. That way when we cut this shape out, you will be cutting two of the exact same ears out. So I'm gonna take my time and go really slow around all of these curved lines. And then cut this bottom piece off. And now when I unfold this or take it apart, I have two of the exact same shapes for my tiger's ears. Pretty cool. Okay, so now that we have gotten our ears cut out, we're gonna do the paws the same way because they are symmetrical on our tiger. So I want you to get your last piece of painted paper, and up at the top or on one side should be a kind of curvy line from where we cut the tail out. I want you to put that curvy line at the top of your paper. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold this paper in half with the curvy line at the top. Now look, I'm trying my best to line up my corners, and then I will fold it and squish it down. Okay, so I have my paint on the inside, and then white, white on both sides. And then my curvy line is at the top. Okay, now just like we did for the ears, we only need to draw one paw because our paper is folded. When we cut it out, we will actually be cutting out two paws. So here's how we're gonna draw the paw. At the bottom of our paper, we are going to draw a little sideways U shape. It kind of looks like a C, and it's gonna look like this. So you can kind of see that it looks like the letter C, or like a sideways U. Okay, that's gonna be his toes. Now we want the top of the C, we're gonna make it go all the way to the top. Now at the bottom of the C, we gotta stretch it out a little bit. So I'm gonna stretch it out. And then over here, this is gonna go all the way to the top, just like that. So we have his leg and then his little tiger toes at the bottom. Now you're gonna cut this out the same way we did the two ears. So you're gonna leave your paper folded and very carefully cut along your pencil line. Now I'm gonna stop right here because right now this tiger's leg is very straight. It has a straight line here and a straight line here. One way we can make this tiger paw look a little bit more realistic is if we take this little corner, this little angle right here, and just slightly curve it a little bit in that way. So then when I go to cut, I'm going to cut this little curve line instead of it being a straight angle. Cut those all the way to the top. And now when I open these up, I have two kitty cat paws. Now because the top of our paper was the top of the tail, I'm actually going to cut these into just a straight line. Boop. And now I have my tiger's paws. Okay, now the next step is we're gonna actually assemble all of our pieces and glue them down before we start adding the stripes and the nose and the eyes and everything like that. So I'm gonna move all of my scraps out of the way. And I've just got my ears, my paws, my tail, and the body. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna find your tiger's tail and we're gonna put it behind the body. So what you can do is you can have your tail poking out to the left, or you can have your tail poking out to the right. Totally up to you. I think I'm gonna do the opposite of this one, and I'm gonna do on the right-hand side. So whichever way you would like to put your tail, we're gonna get a little bit of glue. And what I'm gonna do is I am going to hold this kind of still where I want it and lift this little bottom half up and put a little bit of glue right there at the bottom. That way it stays put. Okay, now carefully I'm gonna flip my tiger over. I'm gonna put some more glue back here just so my tail doesn't fall off. Okay, so now I've got my tail on. Let's do our ears next. And we can put these on the side of his head. So make sure when you go to glue your ears that they are not sticking up at the top like this, because this looks more like a bunny rabbit. We want his ears to be a little bit off to the side, kind of like this. Now when you go to glue the ears, we just want to put a little bit of glue on the back of our painted paper at the bottom, at the straight part. So I'm going to put my glue down here, and then I can stick my ear where I want it, and I'll do the same for this one. Okay, now let's glue the paws. Now check out my example here. The paws are in front of our tiger, but we can see the bottom part where his actually little toes are sticking off from where his belly is. So when you go to glue these down, you don't need to put any glue at the bottom of the paw, just on the straight part of your tiger's leg. And then we can glue that down here in the center. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for my other one, just putting glue on the straight part, not down here by his toes. Let's work on the inside of his ears. So you're gonna get your pink scrap of paper, and we want these to be symmetrical and the same shape and size, just like we did these parts. So we're gonna take your pink scrap and fold it in half. And then we're going to draw that center part, which is gonna look a lot like these shapes. And so I'm actually gonna put it kind of close to this ear. That way I know how big to draw it. So we're gonna do another one of those rainbow shapes with a straight line. Now we want it to be smaller than our ear because this part's gonna go on the inside of his ear. So mine is a little bit smaller than this one. And I have my paper folded in half. That way when I cut out the shape for his ears, I'll actually be cutting out 2. So there is my inside part of my tiger's ear. Precious. Let's get our white piece of paper and we're gonna do our tiger's eyes. Now, we're gonna do the same thing because we want our eyes to be the same size and shape. So with your white scrap, I want you to fold that piece in half. Then in the center of your paper, I want you to draw your tiger's eyes. We're gonna draw just 1 circle. Because our paper is folded, when we cut it out, we will have 2. Now, it's kind of hard to draw a perfect circle, so don't stress out if it's not perfect. Just try your best. Okay, now I have my 2 eyes. And we're gonna get our black paper to do the inside part of our tiger's eyes. So again, let's fold that paper in half. And then we want this black part to go on the inside. So just let's make sure it's not the same size as our white one. We want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna go about this big. I know that's probably hard to see, but since I have my black paper folded, I can cut 2 of the exact same shapes out at the same time. Okay, now I have my eyes complete. Okay, let's work on our tiger's nose. Now, since our tiger just has 1 nose, you can take your folded piece of pink paper and open it back up and find an empty space for us to draw our tiger's nose. Now it's kind of like a triangle, so we're gonna start with a straight line going this way, and then we're gonna go down and back up to make a pointy triangle. Now our tiger's nose is not a pointy triangle, so what we need to do is we need to kind of round out all 3 sides. Okay, so we're just gonna cut off those pointy parts. And now I have my tiger's little nose. Okay, and then after you have cut everything out, it's time to glue it all together. Now with my Sharpie, we are going to draw our tiger's mouth. So what you can do is you can draw a little straight line coming down, and then 1 on this side, 1 on this side. Or you can do it like this. We're gonna draw the letter J, and then a backwards J, like this, to be our little kitty's mouth. So you can choose which mouth you would like to add. Now let's also draw a couple little curved lines at the bottom for our tiger's toes. Start on the edge and curve up. And these will start on the edge and curve up. Okay, the last thing we need to really make this a tiger is our black stripes. Now, you can look and see at this example what shape we're gonna be using. We're gonna be using lots of little black triangles for our tiger stripes. What you need to do is find a straight part, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off. So I'm gonna be using this size black paper because it's about the same thickness as my tail to make the stripes for my tiger's tail. So all I'm gonna do on this little rectangle is I am going to cut some triangles out. So what you can do on the first side is angle your scissors this way, and then if you go back the other way, snip, you will cut out a triangle. I'm gonna cut out a couple more. Okay, I think I have enough triangles cut out. I'm gonna use these for my tiger's tail. So we want the flat part to go on the edge of our tiger's tail. So that one would go here. And then we want to alternate them. So you can see that I put the flat part on this side and the flat part on this side. My next one, my flat part will go on this side. And then on my next one, it will go on this side. I'm gonna put one more at the top, up there. And maybe one more down here at the bottom. Okay, so after I have put my little stripes where I want them, then I'm gonna glue those pieces down. And now, because I have a lot of little pieces, I'm gonna be using a scrap paper to actually glue those down. So what you'll do is you'll take one of your black triangles and then cover it with glue. Now you don't need a ton of glue, but we wanna make sure that the whole triangle has glue on it. And then you can stick it back in its place where it goes. Now I'm gonna do the same thing for the tail, for his legs, so those can have those little triangles. So from another scrap, I'm gonna cut another rectangle. And remember, we want it to be about the same width as the leg. So I'm gonna go about this big. And it's about the same, it's actually a little bit wider. So now that is the same width as our leg, and I can use this black paper to cut out the triangles for my legs. So remember that when you start to put them where they go, the straight part of the triangle alternates on each side. Now for the tiger stripes on his side and the top of his head, let's think about how big our black square should be. We've been measuring the width of the thing that we're adding stripes to. So we want our stripes to be from the leg to the side of his body. So we need this black paper to be about the same width from here to the side of his body. So I'm measuring from the leg, the side of his leg, to the side of his body. So we want it to be about this big. See how it fits in that space right there and right there? So now I can use these to cut out the shape for my head and the side. And you'll do the same thing here by cutting out those little triangles and then using that scrap paper to glue them on, making sure that the flat part of the triangle is on the side of the body and head.